Namaskar and a very good morning. Welcome to the audiocast from Kotak Securities. I'm your host and guide, Anindya Banerjee. The question is this, that kal did the US stock market see a selling climax? Because at one point in time, nearly 1100 points was down in the Dow, but it closed 100 points higher. Selling climax means an exhaustion in the selling or a peak panic. And interestingly, it is happening just a day or two before the important event, Federal Reserve meeting that is tomorrow evening. Now, the question is, has Fed prepared the markets completely? Or in other words, Fed के पास कुछ बचा है क्या to negatively surprise the markets? Because interest rate hikes, taper, balance sheet runoff, सब कुछ possibly is priced in at this moment after this big sell-off and panic. But out of all this, interestingly, Indian rupee and Chinese currency has shown tremendous resilience. Obviously, Chinese currency has shown much more resilience because it's still appreciating. But Indian rupee Indian rupee not depreciating much has shown a lot of resilience. इसके पीछे there are reasons which we have been highlighting for the past 1 month or so. उसमें एक है corporate dollar flows, which has been extremely heavy. And because of which, Indian rupee has been able to offset or ignore the slight bit of FPI outflows which has happened in the interim. And there is another factor which we have been highlighting through our reports, is that the real yields. Interestingly, this has not happened before, but it is happening last few months, is that India mein inflation is underperforming the US inflation. We haven't seen in decades before. Or India mein we know the interest rates are far higher than America. So which means if you take the real yields, which is basically the yields after adjusting for inflation, Indian rupee mein wo काफी attractive hai than the US dollar. Now, how does this impact? This impacts through carry trade, because your carry traders hai, when they get this kind of equation of an attractive real yields without much risk in the domestic economy, they tend to not panic when there are these big global sell-offs. Abhi to equity is down, oil is still high, close to the 7-year high. Beach mein US bond yields had shot up because of the threat of the Fed, and dollar index is strong. So this real yield is able to keep the Indian rupee resilient in face of this kind of hostilities. Because jab tak carry trader is not panicking to cover their shorts on the dollar rupee, tab tak dollar rupee will not get that ignition or momentum on the upside. Because ek taraf to the dollar inflow is happening from the corporates who are coming and selling in the market. So these are the two combinations which we should be aware of. Because for the dollar rupee to move big, it needs the carry traders to panic. That is simply missing at this point in time. तो दो important event है, एक तो Fed है जो कल है, we are shut tomorrow, but Fed is there in the evening, so it will have an impact on the markets, and we'll get to see the impact on Thursday once we open. Now, the next major event is going to be the budget, that is next week. Or budget mein the expectation is around two major areas. एक है the tax law amendment, which will allow for inclusion of Indian bonds in the global bond indices. और दूसरा है the amendment to the laws, which will allow for large-scale FPI participation in the LIC IPO, because media reports are suggesting that the government is trying to complete the process before March 31st. So within the next possibly 2 months, there is a possibility of a large-scale foreign capital flows because of LIC and the inclusion of Indian bonds into the global bond indices. So this is another factor which is also keeping the carry trader in the Indian rupee as well. तो फिलहाल के लिए अगर हम लोग लेवल्स का बात करें तो 74.30 और 74.75 के बीच dollar rupee spot है as in a range. Bias is slightly upward considering the global environment, but the question is, if the global environment changes, then obviously the Indian rupee can come under pressure. But as of now, क्योंकि equity sell-off at least आज एशिया में दिख रहा है still, so the bias is slightly upward. So buy on dips is preferred, but keep in mind if you're carrying positions overnight, so परसों we will be hit, your positions will be hit with the Federal Reserve outcome. So there can be large gaps up or down. So it is advisable that instead of taking large positions in the futures, you stick to options position for overnight trades. इंट्राडे में बाय ऑन डिप्स 74 75 इज अ क्रिटिकल एरिया ऑन द स्पॉट. अगर उसके ऊपर जाके सस्टेन होता है with volume, then it can be termed as a bullish breakout, and 75.10 or even 75.30 on the spot may come. But as of now, 74.75 is a major barrier on the upside, with a 74.30-35 as a major support zone. Global currencies may keep an eye on GBP INR and Yen INR. GBP INR, because of the political risk brewing in UK, it is under pressure. So the bias is downward. On Yen INR is going to be extremely volatile because ek taraf to Fed hai, dusri taraf this risk off in global equity market, which is going to keep the Yen INR quite volatile. So that's it, folks. This is Anindya Banerjee signing off. A fantastic day ahead.